All right, I think I'm live. Good, good. Hello, everyone. I'm Ricardo. I'm the editor for lacartita.com. Obviously, we are just starting our process of going live and having a lot of streaming content in the platform. But what is already a tried and true tradition is us actually posting original content online via the web and on an individual URL, on our own URL. So that's what I have to mention as far as what is the latest. We're trying. We're streaming now to engage YouTube and social media in this format, so that you know that there's actual real people making these stories, and it's not just, well, to be honest, there's a lot of crap now because of AI. There's a lot of poorly translated content, and it's just all over the place in my view. So anyways, these are the latest headlines for lacartita.com. And a big theme this year has been the intense amount of number of individuals from abroad, from the US or Europe, going into Colombia and, over consuming certain substances, overdoing a little bit the party dynamic. And oftentimes they're getting themselves into a lot of trouble where they're committing crimes, they're in a situation that they shouldn't be in terms of lack of security, really exposed. It goes both ways. I mean, they're victims and victimizers. And I think, spreading awareness is the first step towards uh, minimizing this trend, and education of this type is necessary. It's not that we're trying to be overly judgmental as to what people want to do with their recreational time. That's all well and fine as long as it doesn't harm others, or harm yourself. And I think we're at that stage where people are actually harming themselves. So, what am I referencing? So, one story I want to just dive right into is the story of Eduardo James Cisneros. I think it's a really telling one because unfortunately this individual was found in. Let me see if I just. Oh, sorry, it's James. I'll just put James Cisneros. Unfortunately, this individual was found in his hotel room, um, by himself, by his staff of the hotel room in Medellin. And what basically happened was, Cisneros is a oh, Jaime. Sorry. It's a little late. Um, Jaime Cisneros. But what basically happened was this individual was found, undressed in his hotel room in Medellin, and dead under suspicious circumstances. Unfortunately, they discovered his body, um, with no evident signs of violence, but he's incapacitated, he's unresponsive, and he may have simply overdosed, maybe purposefully, because as far as the hotel staff are concerned, there was some suspicious activity with regards to his credit card. So the night that Jaime Eduardo Cisneros was found, um, the staff began receiving really weird WhatsApp messages, asking about the guest credit cards. And at that point, they said, "Look, let's just go ask or see what's going on with this man, because we're getting these weird text messages from people we don't know." So, anyways, um, he was found on his bed, lifeless, and a further investigation revealed that he had indeed gotten an SCX worker that Thursday night. Um, there was footage of the incident as far as the actual solicitation of the service, which is not illegal, but it it's part of the context in which these people from abroad are going into Colombia and taking all sorts of risk. I mean, just because it's not illegal doesn't mean it doesn't come with a lot of baggage. A lot of um, the nightlife is just that, a lot of baggage, a lot of risk, a lot of unfortunate outcomes from people who perhaps um, wouldn't be so savvy in their hometowns, much less in a place like Colombia and Medellin, where you have to be a little bit more with it. And so ultimately, his this older gentleman, 54-year-old Jaime Eduardo Cisneros, was found dead. And there's the belief that an autopsy is necessary, and there's the suspicion that there's foul play because some items, some key items, they weren't there isn't specification on the police reports made available to the Colombian press. But some items were missing in his room, so I think that's one of the things that people have to take into account. So this would fall into the category of passport bros, I believe, because these are people who are, in their right to leverage their ability to travel to so many countries without a visa, but at the same time, they're engaging and indulging in a way that isn't recommended for even the locals. So I think that's where we have to draw the line, and tell some of the individuals coming from the U.S. To take the proper precaution and maybe even reconsider the activity itself. It's not worth your life to go and mess around in this context. Anyways, so that's one unfortunate piece of news. Another piece of news that is, I guess, bittersweet because of the nature of it is that finally there has been a sentencing for the killer of a Colombian lady. So now it's the flip side. It's the inverse of what I was just mentioning. Um, basically, Americans coming to Colombia and killing people. So that's the issue there. And unfortunately, who was killed by her then partner, um, over what the judge considered a fit of rage, a fit of jealous rage. Um, this young lady was brutally murdered by her partner. Apparently, it was classified as manslaughter. So it seems like the judge did agree that it was um, some kind of accidental killing. But here's the story. I'll drop the link as part of the comments. It'll just help everybody organize a bit better. But basically, unfortunately, this individual, John Paulos, killed his girlfriend, um, in the process of both of them consuming a vast amount of substances. And so here he is at his sentencing. The judge, handed out 42 years and a half, 42 and a half years, sorry, for the femicide of this 23-year-old lady. Now, there was video evidence. This caused a lot of commotion. And one of the more unfortunate things around this behavior is that this man is a father of three in somewhere in Ohio. And so the judge questioned him, "Hey, did you think about your children when you committed this crime?" And so that in and of itself should be striking. It's like people aren't thinking when they're going abroad and engaging in the nightlife. They're getting lost in the nightlife. These are people who maybe have addictive personalities. Maybe, well, obviously they have some type of addiction problem because they're consuming a ton of drugs down there. And this is one more case of a person who maybe their circumstances would have been different had they reconsidered this type of movement. And then there is the fact that not everything on Tinder, this man met this woman on Tinder, and these dating apps, is necessarily a positive. And so, in our view, the best approach for him would be to unfortunately, the hindsight's 2020, and the best approach would have been to have never gone down to Colombia. It's too much temptation. But ultimately, in a bit of the jealous rage, he may have you know asphyxiated his then girlfriend, this young lady, Valentina Trespalacios, who, I believe, is survived by her mother and some siblings. Unclear whether she had child. I don't think so, actually. Rather, it was just a naive young lady who was infatuated with somebody she had met on Tinder. Obviously, coming from the United States, he was a bit more privileged economically, and somehow, in the process of them interacting, um, he managed to strangle her with a necklace that she had around her neck. And these are the type of incidents that are, part of that crazed, addicted behavior that is so preventable. So those are two stories. At least he's been sentenced. Um, he was extradited from Panama. He was attempting to leave Colombia when he committed the crime. And so there was some resolution in favor of the victim, I think, and so in that sense, bittersweet as it may be, it is definitely a good piece of news, I think, in general. Another piece of news, unfortunately, too, it's all bad news, unfortunately, is we have the first fatal case of the human bird flu in Mexico. It's been reported by the WHO, and basically what this involves is a young, an older gentleman, Ismael Cosio Villegas, 59, who died after a week of being admitted to a hospital in Mexico City. Now he's from the Estado of Mexico. Um, so not too far from Mexico City, but it could be any region. So, but certainly he must have been from a smaller municipality and then had to, be driven into Mexico City. But he had symptoms fever and respiratory distress and diarrhea, and they confirmed that he had H5N2 influenza bird flu, which had not been prior found in humans. Um, and that's exactly what causes the interest by the WHO. It's the first case of the H5N2 bird flu found in a human, and then also eventually that leading to a mortality is an even bigger deal. Um, it's not known, it's not confirmed whether Villegas had actually been exposed to infected poultry or animals. Um, it's possible, maybe he consumed it. Sorry, apologies for my voice. But ultimately, this is a virus that is somewhat related to another virus in the US. H5N1 is actually part of some outbreaks in dairy cows that have made um, those dairy related products unusable. Um, and it's highlighted the issue around transmissible animal to human diseases, which was essentially the same thing that led to COVID. It was a virus that was usually found in a non-human species that made that jump and transformation into a communicable disease for humans. And so there's probably going to be a lot more surveillance on the part of the WHO, Mexico, and then obviously the US being such a close neighbor. And the good news, I think, there is some good news to the fact that it's this human to human transmission has been caught in Mexico, or well, that part is unconfirmed. It's definitely animal to human, but if it's potentially human to human, there is the good news in that Mexico and the U.S. have amicable relations, and they do have some transparency between one another. There isn't this superpower hostility that there was with China and the U.S. And I think that it'll be a lot easier to get to the root of this problem and take more calculated measures because we're dealing with a government that is competent. In fact, the newly elected president, Claudia Sheinbaum, that's one of the pieces of good news. She's a PhD in environmental science. This is a person who's not a joke when it comes to scientific argumentation. And, her parents are Nobel laureates. I think she herself is also a Nobel laureate. So, or has her presence in one of these high-ranking scientific prizes. So definitely competent people are in power. So that's what gives me hope and confidence about the situation overall. I'll drop the link of that story on the comments as well. Just give you guys a sense of what the highlights of this week are and what the priorities are. I definitely think that people should benefit a lot from just seeing this content, the news as I'm presenting it. 13 minutes of this is a lot easier to digest than having to read it. So I definitely recommend you visit the website. But if not, I'll make these YouTube videos so that people can have a bit more context as far as what's going on. And we have an environmental and climate change section that allows us to keep track of some of these very global issues that are impacting the the community, as far as extreme heat in Mexico, very extreme windy, and you know tornado. It's tornado and hurricane season in the Midwest and Florida, respectively. So we'll cover that here. And I think that's it for us now. but hopefully this was enough content for you guys to get a sense of what to anticipate from the channel and what to anticipate from the website. And the website's been going on for 10 years, and now we're experimenting on more social media distribution. So thank you for joining, or really for seeing this after I post, and thanks. Be safe.